Well, Volodymyr Yermolenko is an analytics director at Internews Ukraine and joins us now live from the capital, Kiev. Good to have you with us. Can I ask, first of all, how people in the capital are feeling tonight after yesterday's missile strikes in the capital, the first ones that we've seen for months?
Indeed, there were horrible missile strikes. Yesterday, there were over 80 missile strikes, Russian missile strikes, going across all the Ukrainian territory, from the east to the west, from the center to the south. And you have seen, everybody have seen the footages that some of the missiles just went on Kiev downtown. There were people dead and wounded, and they were just natural places where people have a walk or going to to their jobs. One of the stories that is now circulated is that a boy, 5-year boy, lost her mother, and he earlier lost his father, so he's now an orphan. So this is how the Ukrainians are now living. But at the same time, there is no panic. I don't see any panic. And one of the spreading memes over the internet that it's the same as 24th of February, with the only exception that we are not frightened. Today, there were lots of air raids, sirens, but according to the information we have received in the evening, most of the Russian missiles were downed by Ukrainian air defense.
President Zelensky, of course, has said that he needs more missile defense systems. He made that plea today at the G7 meeting that took place. But do you think the West, and specifically the US, can provide more air defenses without that being seen as a direct provocation by Russia? It's tricky, isn't it?
Why it is tricky? Missile air defense, it's defense of the civilians. It's not aiming at the civilians of the other side. I mean, when we are saying that there are, I hear the news sometimes in the international media that there are both sides making this conflict and we should not provocate. I can remind you that the Russians attacked the territory of Ukraine. It's not Russians and Ukrainians killing each other. It's that Russian state killing Ukrainians and Russians on the Ukrainian territory. Ukrainians are not killing Russian civilians. Russians are killing Ukrainian civilians. If we got more air defense to down Russian rockets, Russian missiles, how can it be provocative?
So what I was referring to was that politically there is a concern that NATO can't be seen to be providing weapons directly against Russia. That's what I was referring to. Do you think that there is in Ukraine a concern that the West isn't doing enough to help Ukraine, that it should provide air defenses more quickly?
Well, Ukraine is very grateful to many countries in the world, not only the Western countries in the world, who are helping Ukraine to defend itself. There are no NATO soldiers on the ground. NATO soldiers are not dying on the front line. Ukrainians are dying on the front line. Every day, 50 people per day, 100 people per day, sometimes 200 people per day. These are Ukrainians who are dying on the front line. When again you see in some of the news that it is the war of NATO with Russia, that's absurdity. That's insane, because NATO soldiers are not dying on the front line. The war is about human lives. And of course, Ukraine needs more support, and it gets more support. And this is already a irreversible process. We do have the support from the Western and not only Western allies. So it's clear that the sides have been taken. But of course, we need a parity on the front line. Ukraine needs more defensive systems, and Ukraine needs more long-range artillery system just to disrupt Russian military logistics. Because if we have more systems like that, Russians could not advance anymore. And you have seen on the ground that in terms of spirit, in terms of morale, Russian army is completely demoralized. The mobilization will not help it a lot. Ukrainian army has a very high spirit because we are fighting on our land.
Okay. Thank you so much for putting that into context for us. Good to speak with you. Volodymyr Yermolenko there in Kiev.